Hey guys, Preston here, and welcome back to another video. Today is the post-game reaction for Notre Dame against Tennessee State. I did not have time this week to film the preview. I also thought the game would turn out the way it did, so I honestly didn't feel the need to really do some sort of in-depth preview against this team. It's first time we're ever playing a FCS opponent, I think, in our history, if not like a very, very long time. So it kind of went the way I thought. To be fair, if I did a score prediction, I don't think I would have been confident enough to say we'd win the way we did. But either way, no preview, sorry about that. And no post-game for Navy, I should have done that one, but it is what it is. I'll elaborate maybe a little bit on what I saw last week that kind of, they add together the story of what we've seen so far this season, but it's obviously, our true test is next week against NC State, and I'll do a preview on that one for you guys so we're more aware of what NC State's bringing to the table and what we can do against them. But either way, guys, this, just to get into it, I guess, first of all, we won 56-3, so it's like, I don't think there's going to be a lot to go into, if I'm being honest. I mean, there was some stuff where we were a little sluggish at first, I think. I mean, only the score was 7-3 after the first quarter, so not the hottest start. And Tennessee State matched Navy's game total in the first quarter, so I was a little bit concerned about what's this defense going to do. Had some special teams is the one, if you're nitpicking, if we just start with weaknesses, I guess that's what we'll do. Eventually I'll remember what I do format wise for this stuff, but if we're starting with weaknesses, the clear and obvious weakness was our special teams today. If you see me look away, by the way, it's because I have stats pulled up on the computer, and that's always something I want to bring numbers at the table here. So if we look at any of the special team stuff, Devin Ford had the fumble on the punt return. I don't want to blame him, though, because I think anyone who watched that game knew it was pretty obviously a targeting call. But it's just, not our best effort there. I mean, it put us in a bad spot. It was a fine effort, I think. I mean, kid got leveled. It's not his fault. But obviously it wasn't ideal. The defense stood up, though, and that's something, we'll talk about that in strengths. But just the fact we fumbled a punt return, and Tennessee State had a return of like, I don't even know, a pretty long kick return. Okay, here you go. So the kick return stats for Tennessee State, just to prove the point. Darren Johnson had 2 returns the whole game because we didn't, and he had 76 yards on those returns, 38 average. The long was a 58 though, so he had a 58-yard return and then a 20. I don't want to do math, but the second return wasn't as bad. But giving up a 58-yard return was a problem. It put our defense in a bad spot. Obviously, when you're playing a team like Tennessee State, these mistakes don't really hurt you in the end. But that's obviously something you need to limit as you head into the tougher slate of games, starting with NC State next week. You can't give NC State a fumbled punt return, fumbled kick return, and then you can't give up a 58-yard kick return as well when you're kicking it. So those are things to clean up on. Obviously, pair that with the missed field goal of last week. It's special teams is not off to a hot start. Something that, unfortunately, when you lose your special teams coordinator to the NFL because of how good he did, I guess maybe it's expected, but you definitely need to clean it up for sure. Obviously, our kicker from last year is also in the NFL at the Saints now, so we'll see if Strader ends up being the guy. To be fair, he got plenty of extra point practice today, and there were some ones that were a little close to that pull, but he never missed, and he went 7 for 7 on extra points. Zach Joachim got to come in too, and he went 1 for 1 on an extra point. So I guess dominant on extra points. Also, to be fair, we did block a field goal, so that counts as special teams. So special teams wasn't all bad. But there was still, when you're nitpicking for weaknesses in a game, when you win 56-3, that's what you're going to point out, is that you gave up a 58-yard kick return and you fumbled a kick return. Just kick returns is what the special teams issues today were limited to, kick returns. But I guess now I think we'll just dive into the offense and the defense and kind of go from there. Although, to be fair, real quick, shout out to Brian McPherson. He finally got the punt. When backups started coming in, we had a punt twice. They weren't awful punts, 43-yard average. The one punt was actually not great because he overshot it when he needed a bit more finesse and gave him a touchback. But, it's his first punt of the season. I'll give him a little bit of a grace there. Now on to the offense is where we'll start. And just remember, I'll give us an offensive player of the game and a defensive player of the game. But there's a lot of guys that go around today. When you score 56 points, and no one had more than, well, the quarterbacks had more than one touchdown, but no receiver had more than one touchdown, and no running back had more than one touchdown. The ball was spread around. There's 8 different guys who had touchdowns, including one on defense, which we'll get to when we talk about defense. But just to give you the stats in case you didn't know them all yet. Sam Hartman went 14 for 17 with 194 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, and a QBR of 95.4. Very solid day from Sam. Looked like you're normal vet who knows what he's doing. That 2-minute drill play that took like less than a minute, the run at the end of the first half, was just clinical, man. And that's kind of a preview of what Sam Hartman can do with this team. Obviously, you're going to be facing tougher opposition in the future, but drives like that build confidence and give you an idea of what we can hopefully do come what you'd call clutch time in these more important games against the bigger teams where we might need an actual 2-minute drive to go in our favor in order to get some of these wins later on, because obviously not every game is going to be a given like the first 2 weeks of this season. So Stephen Jelly also had a good day. He got to play straight out of halftime, so we did not. I feel like we don't need to talk about Brian Kelly anymore. That dude's been gone for 2 years now, but it's just something I've noticed. I feel like if it was Brian Kelly, maybe we wouldn't have started to see backups right away after halftime. That was kind of an issue. Sorry, I felt in the past with Notre Dame is we waited too long to give our depth pieces reps and blow out games, and then all of a sudden when it was these depth pieces time to shine and be a starter, or they had to become a starter for a day, they weren't ready because they were never given reps in the first place to get better. It's just nothing can beat live in-game reps. I mean, practice is great, obviously it's very important, but live reps help more by far than practice. And Jelly, he threw more attempts today than he has ever his first 2 years. Or maybe his first year. No, I think, it's only his second year, right? So his first year. He had some handoffs last season. He didn't really get to throw it ever, as far as I remember. But today he got to throw 11 passes. He went 8 for 11, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's a good day. He got his first touchdown passes today, 87.4 QBR. So a little worse than Sam, but not that bad at all. Also, you have Kenny Minchie, who actually got to get in for only one drive, and unfortunately we decided to punt. Out of respect, I'd imagine, for Tennessee State. The game was already out of hand, but I think it would have been fun to let Minchie go for it on 4th and 2. But either way, he got 2 passes in for 12 yards, 6 yards a pass averaged out perfectly. So his QBR was in the 40s, but I still don't know how they measure QBR. I guess it's just because they weren't super impressive passes, but he got them to the guys, and he didn't throw incompletions, so works for me. So overall, since you have to put them all together, since all these different quarterbacks played, your quarterbacks finished with 336 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. So pretty solid outing. Obviously, we'll get into more details when we get to these running backs, because that matters a lot too. To be fair to what I said earlier, it's not true that people didn't end up with 2 touchdowns. No, actually it is true. It's because different running backs. The running backs had a great day today, man, because they had some of the running backs caught touchdowns and others ran for touchdowns. Let's just say this running back room has been the most impressive part of this offense the first 2 games. I mean, I know there's some concerns by some people when Logan Diggs left, and this isn't crapping on him because I like that kid a lot. He's very talented. I'm sure he'll do fine with LSU, but it's a trope to say, well, we didn't need him. But to be fair, we didn't. I mean, he would have just made this rotation just even more stacked. But you look at the first 2 games, and it's proven that everyone else who was waiting in the wings has stepped up right away. Jabrian Payne, Jeremiah Love, Jajarian Price, who's finally healthy. Even Devin Ford, he didn't get to do much today, but he looked okay. He's shown some flashes that he could actually be an okay running back in a pinch. So, I mean, we'll run you through the rushing numbers first. We'll get into their passing numbers when it comes to receiving. We'll just talk about receivers and running backs who caught balls. But Estime had 13 carries for 116 yards. That's an average. If you round up, he was averaging 9 yards per carry and a touchdown. To be fair, he had a long of 50, so you take that away. Even if you take that away, though, that's still 12 carries for 60 or 70 something yards. That's not awful. He had a very good day still, I'd say. It felt like a casual performance, though. I don't know. Just this game, it's you're playing FCS level defensive linemen, so I don't know. To be fair, it's obviously they weren't tested, but they did what they were supposed to, so you can't complain. Jeremiah Love, 5 carries, 46 yards. 9.2 average, but that gets brought way down, honestly, because he had a 36-yard run. So really, it was he had 4 carries for 10 yards, which wasn't great. This O-line, you win 56-3, so I don't want to be super harsh, but obviously when you got to nitpick, and this O-line wasn't always great. They had their moments. Example, Jeremiah Love getting 4 carries for 10 yards isn't what you'd want in any game, especially against a team like Tennessee State. But they still let him break one for 36, and he also ended up with a touchdown, so it's not like it was a total bust. He still got 36-yard rush and a touchdown. So big bonus points, I guess, for explosive plays. Like I said, a 50-yard rush and a 36-yard rush. That's always good to see. You like explosions. It's a fun thing to see. So it's also just good for your offense if you can get big chunks of yards quickly. That's obviously great when it comes to moving the ball, and if you have to move it quickly. So Jabrian Payne had 6 carries for 27 yards. He had a much more normal 4.5 yards per carry, but also had a long of 12, so 5 carries for less than 27. Yet again, like I said, the run game wasn't always there. Estimate was the one with the biggest, holes involved, but there was more explosive plays, it felt like, today that led to touchdowns rather than a ground and pound, run it down your throat. I felt like they had more rushing success against Navy. Sam Hartman also scrambled for a little bit, including that beautiful touchdown run where he had to do a flip into the end zone. So he ended up with 4 rushes for 14 yards and a rushing touchdown, to go with his 2 passing touchdowns. 3 touchdown day for Sam Hartman. Shout out Sam. Skip Valletta ended up with a 9-yard run, so that's good for him. I don't know enough about him to comment. I'm sorry. I assume he's a walk-on, though, and it's nice for a kid like that to get reps anytime you can. Jadarian didn't get a lot of running work today, but he made up for it in some other ways. And, when you got a room with that many running backs, you're not always going to see the field as much as maybe he would have liked. But either way, you win 56-3, it's not much of a problem. So, but he ended up with 2 carries for 5 yards. It says a long of 9, though, so that makes sense. He must have lost yards or something, I don't know. And then Devin Ford had 1 carry for 3 yards, but obviously he got knocked out when he fumbled the kick return. He was concussed. It seemed like he didn't play the rest of the game, that's for sure. And Freeman said he kind of had a headache, so I assume he's going to go into whatever the college equivalent of a concussion protocol is. We'll see. I don't feel much of a rush for Devin to come. He can take next week off, if we're being honest. He's a good kid. He works hard, but he's number 4 or 5 in that running back depth chart, and you can live without him for a week, I guess. But to be fair, it's more about just looking out for his health. You don't have to rush him back, is all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say anything about him as a player. Sam Asaf got a carry in, too, for 1 yard, so shout out Sam for getting that carry. I feel like he's been a part of this program forever. Just the Asaf brothers, I think it's been brothers. They have a history. The Asafs have a history with Notre Dame, is what we'll say. Now on to receiving. Yet again, the Sam Hartman special is. It seems like the ball gets spread out a lot. And sorry, I'm filming this during the end of this Wyoming-Texas Tech game, and I thought for sure Texas Tech was going to hit a field goal, but I mean, that kid was missing all night, so maybe he missed again, and now they're going to overtime. So that's a fun game. If you're watching this after all these games have happened, watch the highlights of that game if you didn't get to watch it live. Anyways, back to receiving. Jaden Thomas just proven himself again and again to be the reliable target. He might be. I don't know if Hartman's going to have a guy, but JT's positioned himself well to be that reliable target you look to. 4 catches, 62 yards. With a long of 27. Very solid outing. No touchdown for JT, but that's okay. The ball was spread around a lot, like I said. Also, if you see me winking at you, it's not a wink. I'm twitching. I twitch sometimes. It's unfortunate. I think it happens more when I'm lacking some sleep, and I'm filming this at 12:20 a.m., so that's probably why I'd be twitching more than normal, but maybe I'm not. Maybe it's in my head. Anyways, Mitchell Evans, tight ends got more involved today, actually, especially that 2-minute drill, which took less than a minute that I was talking about earlier. That was all Mitchell Evans right there. 4 catches, 61 yards. I feel like all but one of those catches came on that drive. So shout out Mitch for getting involved. We're looking to Mitchell Evans to continue the Notre Dame legacy of every day one starting tight end being drafted the past 20-something years. So hopefully he can just keep improving and get himself drafted in a couple of years. Just carry on that legacy of tight end U. No touchdown, though. First touchdown, I mentioned Jadarian Price earlier, only got 2 carries, but that's okay because he had 2 catches for 51 yards, including breaking a 40-yard catch and getting that touchdown. That was a great play by Jadarian. He works at the speed's just unreal with that kid. Even coming off I believe it was an ACL tear, which made him redshirt last year. But he is just, the speed's real with him, and he's going to be fun to watch in the future as he just grows into his role with this team. So 2 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Shout out to Jadarian. Another touchdown pass caught by a running back is the day, like I said, the day was all about these running backs. Jabrian Payne also caught 2 catches for 45 yards, including breaking a 42-yarder and a touchdown. So the other one was a 3-yard pass. So, but explosive 40-yard touch. I believe the touchdowns were on the long ones too. Maybe I'm misremembering. You can let me know if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the theme of the day is these explosive plays, 40 yards and a touchdown, 42-yard long and a touchdown. Like, just explosive plays, chunk plays. You can get touchdowns off those. Rico Flores showed his face today. I feel like he's kind of quiet last week, which is fine. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that go around. The true freshman coming in with 2 catches for 31 yards, not a bad little outing. Greathouse, who had that 2-touchdown performance last week, a little more tame today, but the ball got spread around. No one had more than 4 catches. So he had 2 for 30 yards, not bad at all. Chris Tyree had that catch was beautiful, that 1-yard, 24-yard touchdown catch. It's all you need, 24 yards and a touchdown. I do feel like we missed out on Tyree. He should have been receiver day one, in my opinion. I never minded him as a running back, but his role, that role got greatly reduced once you were running with Diggs and Esteban. I feel like he should have been switched to slot receiver even earlier than he has. But hopefully he does enough to impress NFL scouts this season. Or maybe, I don't know, I'd have to check his eligibility. Maybe he could come back even another year and be that veteran presence in a young wide receiver room. Anyways, Davis Sherwood, the walk-on, I believe it's his second year, had a catch for 8 yards. Shout out Sherwood. I remember I was looking into him when we first committed because he had some FCS and I think maybe 1 or 2 lower FBS level offers, and I think he was a linebacker in high school, so I wasn't sure what he's going to end up being with Notre Dame, but he's ended up being an okay fullback. You know, you see him on the field every once in a while, so good, nice for him to get a catch there. Estime had 1 catch for 7 yards, so he's still more of a ground and pound guy than the receiving back, although he's capable of it. He had that crazy good catch in last week's Navy game. Holden Stays ended up with a 4-yard touchdown pass, his 1 catch of the day. But it gets another Notre Dame tight end on the scoreboard, which is, Notre Dame tradition to get your tight ends involved, and they actually got involved today. Then you got Chase Ketterer, another walk-on, I believe, who had a catch for 4 yards, so shout out Chase. And Jeremiah Love, another running back, also got a catch for 4 yards as the game went on. So overall, if I had to give an offensive player of the game, it's so tough because, like I said, that ball got spread around so much, man. I don't know who to give it to. Comment below who you would give this to, because for me, it's just tough. Man, I guess Sam. I'm going to give it to Sam Hartman. It's cliche, and I feel like it'd be fun to give it to someone else, but just the way it was spread out so much, that's a lot of that was Sam's doing, and he led a very impressive 2-minute drill. He only played 1 half of football and managed to get 3 touchdowns, 2 through the air and 1 with his feet, showcasing a different side of him. Only 3 incompletions, so same amount of incompletions as touchdowns to me is always a sign your quarterback had a very good day. So shout out Sam Hartman, he is my offensive player of the game. And then defensively now, we'll get into that. Not a bad day, like I said. You only give up 3 points, that's not bad at all. I do feel like there's some moments where I wish he would have done a little better there, but either way, we'll just get into some of this stuff here. Let's see. I need to really quickly switch to a different. For some reason, ESPN does not give sack stats, which is the dumbest thing of all time. The Bleacher Report does, so I got to switch over to the Bleacher Report for that, and we'll get into that in a second. So, I already talked about special teams, so I'm not going to go into them again. But just for some stats here, we'll look in the splash your stats. So your TFLs, your sacks, your interceptions, and your passes defended. We'll have Jared Bertrand had a tackle for loss. Oh no, Hawaiian name I can't say. Kianina had a TFL. Joshua Burnham had a TFL. Jordan Potello got the TFL, which I believe was the sack. So if you're looking at sacks here, Jordan Potello got a sack. And there you go. I think Yeah, I think Jordan Patella was the only sack we had on the day, so I wish we would get to the quarterback a little bit more than we do. We haven't got a lot of sacks this year so far. Obviously, Navy, they don't throw much. We don't give any sack opportunities. But I do feel like we get a lot of pressures. We just don't get to the quarterback. Tackling is still an issue these last 2 weeks, and wrapping up guys, we have to work on that, man, because it's going to bite us in the butt against the better teams we play. But overall, this defense held Tennessee State to 156 yards of total offense, 67 passing yards and 89 rushing yards, so under 100 in both. And I feel like most of those yards were probably given up later in the game when a lot of our backups came into play. But shout out to Patella for actually getting to the quarterback there. Interceptions, we had 2 of them today, so that's always beautiful. Obviously, it felt like we weren't going to get any against Navy because they barely throw. But today we did get picks, hoping to bring up our turnover numbers compared to last season, which I felt like we didn't get enough of those. But Ramon Henderson had a pick earlier in the game that kind of helps reset that tone and get us going into the game. And then Clarence Lewis had the pick 6. That was a beautiful sight by him. Good to see him making a play on the ball. He's a kid who started early for us and then kind of lost his spot to, the very, very good Benjamin Morrison. So you can't really fault him for that. But overall, good play by him. Pass breakups also came from Cam Hart and Benjamin Morrison. So, overall, not a bad day. 5 tackles for Bertrand and 5 for Jason Onye, who got to play a good amount today, plugging up that middle. He had a very solid outing. Dude's a tank, man. He's just massive now, which is not... When he was first recruited, I think he was more of an end, but obviously he's bulked up to being the future of that defensive tackle position for us, or somewhere in the middle. So shout out him. Howard Cross, also 4 tackles. Kiana Nia, or whatever. Please help me. If you know how to pronounce that name, spell it out for me in the comments. But he had 3 tackles a day. Burnham had 3. John Baptiste also had 3 tackles a day. A lot of guys with 3 tackles, so I'm not going to go real in depth to everyone with 2 or 3 tackles, but everyone did their jobs for the most part. Like I said, it started shaky. That's the truth. It was only 7-3 at the end of the first half, but then they really woke up, I think, after the Devin Ford hit that they didn't call targeting. I think that not only did they get the crowd going, but it really motivated our team, and we just put our foot on the gas after that, scoring 28 points. In the second quarter, we were 28-0 second quarter, 14-0 third quarter, 7-0 fourth. So really that second quarter is where we did most of our damage, and then in the second half you switched to backups. I mean, I'm pretty sure towards the end of the third we were backups on every position of defense, and even the O-line we were rocking backups on O-line for the second week in a row. That's nice to see, getting those kids reps too. So overall, very dominant game. I think it's clear to say. Defensive player of the game, it's tough. Like I said, Cross had the most tackles, and he had a pass defense, so that's a very good game by him. But just because pick 6s don't happen every day, I'm going with Clarence Lewis. Shout out Clarence. He's for sticking around too. There's a lot of kids nowadays, if they lose their like main starting job, they lose a big chunk of reps to someone else, they'd leave right away. But he stuck around, and he's still playing very good football for us, including a pick 6 today. So shout out Clarence Lewis. You're my defensive player of the game. Anyways, guys, I've already gone on. I managed to make 24 minutes basically out of this, so shout out me and my never-ending mouth. But that's a hold on. I talk a lot. That's what I meant to say. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this game. Like I said, obviously, it's a 56-3. It's like it's what you'd expect. We did cover, by the way. I don't know if anyone cares about betting, but I've seen 2 different lines of 48.5, 47.5, and at one point 46.5 in terms of the spread. We covered even the worst one of that, 48.5. We won by 53. So shout out to any sickos who were willing to bet a spread that big in Notre Dame's first game against an FCS school. So shout out you. But generally, I feel like when you cover spreads, it's also just proving that you played up to expectations or even technically above expectations. So covering that spread's nice. I feel like it's something Notre Dame hasn't always done against smaller schools. This is obviously, I think it should go noted that last year's team did not do this against the teams they were supposed to beat. We all remember, like around this time last year, it might have been week 2. We were losing to Marshall. We started 0-2. Navy, even last year, that was later in the year. We only beat Navy by a field goal. We barely beat them. Our defense let them score like 35. We're beating the teams we're supposed to beat, so no one's going to be crazy about it. But I thoroughly enjoy the fact that now we're what we were supposed to do last year. Because if we did this stuff last year, we'd only have one loss on our schedule. Like, the only team where we lost where it made sense to me was USC. And even that game, we had it for a little while, but quarterback play kind of bit us in the butt with that one, which is a case for a lot of the games last year. But just the discipline is important. I feel like this team is they're selling into this culture better. Al Golden, I'm still not the biggest Al Golden fan, and to be fair, I think the biggest thing is that he wasn't the last time he was a defensive coordinator before he joined Notre Dame was the early 2000s. He was a linebacker coach in the NFL when we hired him, and so his first year there's rough patches to work through. So hopefully he's starting to work through them with this team. Obviously, the bigger test is next week against a real offense in NC State. We'll see how he does and if my feelings change on him at all. I'm still not his biggest fan. Gerald Parker's been doing very well. Obviously, a lot of us were upset when we cheaped out. And the rumor was, we were close. We were going to be able to get Utah's coordinator if we just paid for the buyout or whatever it was, and we chose not to. But Parker's done good to make me forget about that. Like I said, once again, that's something we'll see what happens when we play a tougher defense and if he makes proper adjustments and stuff like that. But overall, I'm optimistic about this team. We should all feel way better about this team than we did at this time last year, and that's always nice to say. I feel like you want to improve every year. Every fan wants to see their team do better than they did the last, and it's not always a given. So, shout out to this team and the performances so far. Feel free to comment below if you want to talk about anything Notre Dame related, anything at all, anything sports related. It's fine actually. No one comments, so if you ever comment, I'll be like, "Holy crap, someone commented," and then I'll talk to you on there. But anyways, back to I rambled, man. I did an intro like 2 minutes ago, and then I talked again. And now I think I've said enough. Now we'll actually wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for watching. There is a playlist for these Notre Dame post-game reactions. So if you want to find that, you can see all my other post-game reactions from the previous season. And if you're watching this like further in the future, you'll see ones for NC State, for Central Michigan, etc. Those will all be there. I'll be on the lookout for previews as well. There's a separate playlist for those. Actually, I think they're all in a Notre Dame football playlist. So you click on the Notre Dame football playlist. You see any video I've ever done about Notre Dame football, videos about commits when they first commit, position room previews. I did one for the quarterbacks this season before the season started. You can look at that. And then previews and post games, like I said. Yeah, also, if you happen to be a Steelers fan, there will also be previews and post games for the Steelers on this channel as well. So stick around and you can look at some of those. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button. It really helps spread this video. Share this video with any of your Notre Dame fans. It'd be nice to build a little bit of community here. I am dedicated to continually producing sports content for the teams I like. I don't make, obviously, you've seen the view counts and the sub count. I don't make money off this. This is just for fun. I do it about the teams I support and I love, so that's just what this is all about. So please share this around and get more Notre Dame fans on board. I'd love to talk about this team with you guys. That's why I do these videos, because I don't have enough Notre Dame fans to talk to, so I vent for 30 minutes about a game we won 56-3 through YouTube, just because it's what I enjoy. So once again, thank you guys so much. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more Notre Dame and sports related content. This is KMA Preston signing out. See you guys later.